Thank you very much for tuning into That Will Never Work podcast. You're showing up, posting, launching, and yet your business feels heavier than it should. Well, today's guest, Stephanie, she reveals the invisible energy that's leaking behind your human design and how aligning with your true strengths can make growth feel powerful instead of exhausting. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
So, we got a treat for you today, and so our guest. She helps high achievers identify why effort can feel draining and how to restructure business around their natural, energetic design instead of forcing strategies that were never built for them. So, Stephanie, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for coming onto the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be great.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be powerful. We're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. But let's start off here though, right? So, Stephanie, when someone says I'm doing everything right, or they feel like they're doing everything right, but it can still feel draining, what's usually happening beneath the surface?
Beneath the surface, they are very misaligned to their human design, and I can talk a little bit about human design for those of you who don't know what it actually is. But it really is this blueprint, if you will, of your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth. And it really brings out this beautiful chart. It has lots of ancient modalities. There's scientific research to back it up now, but it really tells you how you're designed to move through the world, how you
Mm,
are designed to interact with other people. And when it comes to business, how you're designed to message, market, sell, create your offers, even, and what your
mm,
people need to see from you and hear from you. So, what happens is we are inundated every day with build your business this way, which is
right.
completely outside of you. And slowly we die inside that business, is what I say. So,
Mm.
that's what's happening.
So, but Stephanie, I mean, there are times where we don't understand some of the other forces that are working for us or against us, right?
Mhm.
Because we get so caught up in hearing, you know what, you need to be duplicatable, right? You need to follow someone else, and that energy. First of all, we have no idea how they got there, right?
Exactly.
you know, and so how do we stop ourselves? From one following that trend and then really digging deep inside ourselves to get to that point.
Yeah. So just a little back history about me. I've been an entrepreneur for 13 years and I did build a six-figure business on the blueprints of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said I slowly died inside that business. And when my human design was gifted to me, it was one of the most eye-opening experiences that I have ever seen. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt so validated, heard, and understood why I felt burnt out and just like I was pushing and pulling in that business.
Mm,
And so really when I dove deep into it, and the more
mm-hmm.
you get to understand about you and your design, the more everything else does not make sense, and it just kind of slowly falls away, and you are able to build in alignment with that design. So
Mm,
it starts with the self leading and understanding yourself first.
mm. So how do I get that clarity? Especially if I have not experienced it. I have not run into you, Stephanie, to talk to me about it. So how do I get to that point of just getting that point of clarity?
Yeah, so it does start with your human design and
Mm,
knowing your energy type and profile. They're the highest levels of your design.
mm,
So when my clients come to me, that's the first thing we do is we really just hone in on how they're designed to show up in the world because
mm.
we're not all of us are energy beings and not all of us have the step-by-step process that some of us do.
Mm,
And so it starts there. It starts with understanding those pieces of you and how people view you on this stage of life. It's very
mm,
interesting. And because it's important to know how people really see you, and it's like an energetic thing, but you don't even realize that it's happening.
mm.
And so the more you can dissect that, the more your business and your life starts to flow better and feel better.
Mm. So how would you talk to someone? Because You stated, hey, you built a six-figure business, right? Lack for a better term, mimicking someone else, right? Lack for a
Yeah.
better term. And so in that space, who would say that you weren't successful, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So that's when you see people online who look successful, who have the business that you crave, but they're dying inside a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the time, and it's very misaligned. And so I never deemed it as unsuccessful. I
Mm-hmm.
deemed it as this is not sustainable. And
Mm.
when when I realized that, because what was happening was I helped hundreds and hundreds of people start businesses in that business, but I gave them the same blueprint I had. And so not very many were successful. And now I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why infusing their human design into each different client's business
Mm-hmm.
is key. So that's really what happened was I realized it wasn't sustainable because my kids were
Mm.
trying to feel the effect my husband, my life, my sleep, all of it, and it wasn't worth it.
Mm. So those two S words, successful and sustainable, are key.
Mhm.
So can you give us your version of success? Because everybody's definition is different. So I just want people to understand what is that version of success versus that other S word you said was sustainable.
Mhm.
Because everybody's definition is different for both. Can you kind of give us a definition of both?
Yeah. So here's another thing that human design allowed me to do was
Mhm.
when I looked at successful, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I thought I wanted the car, the house, the
Right.
all of those things that everybody else was showing online. And that's again how I slowly got misaligned over time. But
Hmm.
now for me, success is not going back to corporate. Success
Yeah.
is
Right.
allowing my husband to come home and build something that he loves. Success is showing my kids entrepreneurship because I know that that's the wave of the future
Hmm.
and having that freedom to do so. And that's really, and I know that someday I'll live on an acreage out in the middle of nowhere with my horses and all the things. So that's what success looks like for me.
So what is your definition of sustainable? Because again, we think that, hey, you know what, we're going to have, four or five employees, maybe even more, and we're going to keep riding it out. But again, if that's my level of success and I know anything different and I'm not internalizing this word, how do we keep it sustainable, or give us an example of your idea of what sustainable could look like?
Yeah, sustainable is not building yourself a prison, really. And it
Mm.
is because that's how I felt in corporate. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I had built myself a prison from getting the degrees and getting the perfect job that looked good on the outside. But on the inside, I was slowly dying. And I did that in my first business as well. And so
Hmm.
for me, it really is um, sustainability is being able to still move through your day
Mm-hmm.
in an aligned way, one that at the end of the day, you're not mad, exhausted, frustrated. We each have in here human design, we each have a shadow theme, and
Right.
mine is frustration. And so when I was doing that all the time and clients weren't getting results and it wasn't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I mean by sustainability. You can't sustain that and be healthy long term in your relationships and your health. So
Mm. So what was there one thing that clicked and said, you know what? When you sat back and like, hey, Stephanie, we don't know where we're going. What's going on? And for us to really touch into to what you're coaching people on today, being human design, was there one moment where it's just like flip the switch?
yeah, it was actually, when my dad died. I lost
Mm.
my dad, and I was actually sitting at his bedside, and I had a few messages from some clients, and, the messages didn't feel good. They
Mm-hmm.
It was a moment where I was like, "What am I doing? What am I
Mm.
doing building a business the way that I know I'm not meant to?" The clients were not my ideal people. They were complainers and all the things. And so when you build
Mm.
against your human design, you get the clients that don't match who you're designed to help. And so it was really that moment where I was like, no more. And I actually, for the next 2 months, after losing him, I went internal and understood my design. And then I came out of it as this new person and this new
Mm.
understanding of, holy cow, this is the missing piece to business growth. And what is really cool about my design is I have the core four, the life's work of the new era. It's the sleeping phoenix. So I
Mm.
was meant to build a business, burn it down, and build with what actually works and help people skip the steps. That's what my design says. So when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm here to do. So it's just really cool when you understand that.
So, I'm sorry. At times, my brain goes crazy.
No,
So,
you're
you said something about Phoenix. How does it feel to be an X-Men? How does it feel to be a superhero?
I'll tell you, it's you gotta I had to burn things down and I had to go through the hard stuff to be able to rise again on the other side. But
Hmm.
my design is very fail forward and trial and error, unlike other people's. And so I get to help people skip those steps now. And now I
Mm.
understand why I had to build that first business.
Hmm.
I was guided to it because I needed to go through it in order to be on this side of it to help other people.
Mm. So, how do you cope with failing or falling, if you will? Some people, it depends on people's definition of it, right? How did you deal with that and not say, you know what, I failed this time and I'm just going to give up? So, how did you cope with not giving up all the way? Because some of us do too quickly, especially too
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your design and what centers are defined and undefined and what your profile is.
Hmm.
My my design has many layers, including my Chiron, which is when I turn 50. I still am in the trial and error, but I fail forward more than everybody else. So when I understood that, I was literally like, this is my calling. Like this is
Hmm.
I'm supposed to do this so other people don't have to,
Hmm.
because there are designs that people can just get it right away. And it I'm just not designed that way. And so I became so okay. The other thing that happens when you understand your human design is you become so okay with being you that you really
Hmm.
don't care
Hmm.
about the forward failing or the falling flat on your face in front of other people.
Yeah.
You become so okay with being you, and it's fascinating.
Mm. So, I heard what you said. You said you're 50-ish, right?
Oh,
You
no, yeah. When I turn 50, so I'm 40, almost 42.
Okay.
But when I turn 50, you have this new set of like superpowers
Right.
and little things that are added onto your chart. And I'm still in the trial and error
You're right.
phase.
So, because I was going to say this, because I will be 50 in a couple weeks, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I am experiencing this space of, oh, really? Like, this is where I am? But I'm saying this because sometimes we get to a certain point in our lives where we're like, are we too old to change? Are we too old to change our mindset and what does our vision look like now? And we get so concentrating on, what does this look like for retirement at 62,
Mhm.
65, whatever it might be. And so, but I'm too old to change. I can't come out of the rabbit, I'm sorry, the gerbil wheel, whatever it is, the hamster wheel. So
Real.
how do we again get out of that and understand like, hey, you know what? The way we've been going was again, is leaking, it's stressing us out, and so how do we get to that other side of that wheel?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're going to be feeling it even more, the disconnect from who we are and what we're doing because of this new era. We're all feeling the shift. Everything is breaking down around us, right?
Hmm.
The big things are breaking down,
Right.
and they can no longer sustain because we have to understand ourselves at the individual level. So what's happening is this collective shift, this collective consciousness, if you will,
Hmm.
of we are in this box and we're not supposed to be. What's happening is, what I like to say is, when people say we're in a midlife crisis, you know, they term that, it drives me insane.
Right.
I really think what's happening is that, holy cow, we're realizing this isn't how we were supposed to be living and we're
Hmm.
ready to change. And so honestly, most of my clients are 50 and over. And I think that's really cool because they're realizing that it's not too late. Like,
Hmm.
you're just getting started. Um, at your when you're 40s and 50s, you're literally just getting started.
Mm. And I'm saying this because I've had a few clients, especially recent, guests on here recently, where they have had to pivot at the age of 63. Like one guest recently, he said, Maurice, I've been working for the last 40 years, right? And then
Mhm.
my job all of a sudden fired me.
Oh,
Is the idea of ageism, right? And so and sometimes we feel as though, you know what, we're too old to go back. These other organizations are not going to hire us or whatever it is. So now we're stuck and we're in this oh woe is me,
mhm.
space. And again, like I'm stating, like everyone doesn't talk to us about the energy that's inside of us, all of the points, whether it's the moon, the stars, the sun, all these other pieces that does really affect us. Sometimes we just don't want to acknowledge it, right?
Mhm.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
so how do we again change that mindset? Because that energy is probably built up. And like he stated to me, Maurice, I worked for 40 years, not realizing that job should have fired me 8 years ago. These are his words, because he just wasn't feeling it anymore.
Yeah.
And so how do we connect in that personal energy?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my belief process with that is you were fired, you were let go because the universe has something better for you. You have something better than that you're supposed to do. And but going back to your design, when you start to unravel it and understand it,
Mhm,
it teaches you the fears that are running in your back in the background. It teaches you, again, how people see you, how you view the world, your life's work here. So it really guides you to that next place.
mhm,
And without it, I believe, like, this is one of my convictions, that we will not get to the place we're meant to be in this life if we don't know our human design. That's
mm,
full stop. I believe that because people continue to spiral over here, not even knowing that their magic is being shut off because they are listening to the words of other people. They have
mhm,
the other ideas of what's successful, what's not successful, and they just shut their magic off. And so
mm,
it just, when you start to understand your design, you really come home to yourself before the world told you who to be, is what I always say.
mhm,
And it's it helps you navigate all of that. Um,
mm.
and gives you a reason why. Kind of like I said, the whole my business just had to collapse. My design actually said that was why. And my
Mm.
design says that corporate life will not work for me. It does for some designs, but for me, it will hold me hostage, because
Wow.
I have a very active, multi passionate design that's very energy based. So
Mm. So it sounds like Stephanie, and please jump in. That if I understood my human design, that maybe creativity might come easier for me.
mhm,
Maybe some other luxuries in life might come easier. If
yeah.
I understood my human design. But guess what, Stephanie? I've been so programmed that I don't believe I deserve it.
Mhm,
I don't think I earned it. So sometimes I pull myself back in that and not allow it to flow freely
mhm,
because of misconceptions or whatever it might be. And because the other thing, too, what also challenges us is our family life as
mhm.
well, can also hinder some of that as well. So, how do I know that, hey, I deserve that freedom in life and my family deserves it as well, especially if it's something that we don't know anything about?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think it's just a shift in your perspective of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that we're all here for a specific reason. We're all here to help a specific fractal piece of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and your design shows you all of that. And so I think, when you talked about the programming and the conditioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Human design really sheds a light on the box that you put yourself in unknowingly. We don't mean to put ourselves in this box, if you will, that society has put us in, that we have put ourselves in, but it sheds a light on it, and it all makes sense of
Mm-hmm.
why I feel this way, why I react this way, why this didn't work out. So it's just one of those things where you have to just sit back and allow yourself to know yourself again, because we've been
Mm.
so disconnected. I think I've had almost 3,000 people get their human design chart
Wow.
with me,
Wow.
and I've had one person come back and say, this really doesn't feel like me at all." And we found out her birth time was wrong. And
Mm.
so it's very accurate. I have clients cry every week because we are conditioned to believe we are supposed to show up and behave and work and do things in a specific way. And
Mm.
we're not designed for that. We were
Mm.
never designed for that.
Stephanie, I don't want to be that emotional, Stephanie. I don't like that.
Sometimes my clients cry, then I cry, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
But you know what, Stephanie, I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate it. And, for those individuals who are trying to find a way to become better aligned in their life and what they need to do and accomplish in this space of understanding our purpose, right? So how can they find that and talk to you and find your content or whatever it is?
Yeah. So I'm on social media platforms, but the best way to start is by getting your free human design business starter kit, which is it's a 10-part audio series of human design and where it fits into your business. It is your chart. It's a 12-page PDF of your profile and energy type in your business. And I think that's the best place to start because my mission, most people would charge for that stuff, but my
Mhm.
mission is to get that out there and
Mhm.
have people stop putting their human design on the shelf, because what's happening is people are seeing it and it's overwhelming, and then they just put it on the shelf,
Mhm.
and their true self is over here like, come here, like just unravel this. And so that's where I would start. Hopefully we can put it in the show notes,
Yes.
the link to that, but it's it's game changing, so that's where I would start.
Stephanie, sometimes even though we see ourselves over there, again, I don't sometimes when we look in that mirror where we can be, it frightens us.
Mhm.
And I've had some clients that felt that way, that truly, truly felt that way. And I think that something that you're offering can probably assist with some of that.
Yes. So going along with that, one of the first things I do with my clients is look at their fears that are in their chart that are
Hmm.
running in the background. And one of them is fear of success. Some people have fear of success. And some people have fear of the past repeating itself.
Right.
We have these fears that are running in our background. Until we look at them, we're never going to overcome them.
Mm.
So yeah.
So we're going to keep along that track of fear, right? Because I have to ask you my would you rather question. you know and some people might have a fear of the question that I have for you. They might try to run away from it. I have had guests that's like, Maurice, do I really have to answer this? But yes, I would like for you to answer, right? And so my question is, would you rather choose three doors or a fork in the road? Again, there's no right or wrong. Use your imagination.
Mhm. I think I would rather choose a fork in the road.
Okay.
Um, because I feel like through my human design work, I know myself so well that when I
Hmm.
get to this place of this way or this way, I can listen to my authority and my design and go the right way. And so,
Hmm.
um, I think that for me, I feel like if I can see this way and this way, what they both have, I know what's right for me. That
Hmm.
wouldn't have been the case before knowing human design, but
Hmm.
that's what I feel like. Yeah.
Hmm. So it almost sounds like you're rather relatively confident in yourself. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but again, before human design, I was not. I was a people pleaser. I would overextend myself. I would not sleep because I would worry that
Mm.
someone was upset. I was not a confident person before human design, but that human design gives you the confidence that you never had because it helps you meet the pieces of you that you've been hiding.
Mm. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I think everyone that's listening today, please check out Stephanie's information. Please, please, please. I mean, if you do your research and just, do a YouTube search on Stephanie, great information out there. But thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And I thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Nevr Work podcast. And before you leave, please identify one area of your business that feels inconsistently heavy and question whether it aligns with your natural strengths. Also, explore one decision this week using alignment instead of urgency. I thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?